Your life is like a long road, with twists and turns, potholes, moments of warm, radiant sunshine, but also times when unexpected storms roll in. Loved ones may accompany you for a stretch, and friends may share your joys and sorrows. But in the end, every step you take is still your own choice and your own responsibility. That is a truth no one can change. Perhaps in your life, you have often been troubled by the gazes, the words, or the judgments of others. An unintentional remark might make you ponder all day. A cold glance might keep you awake at night. People often say that public opinion is relentless. And indeed, people always have much to say. But the important thing is whether we let those words dictate our lives. When you constantly chase after pleasing others, you forget the most important task: pleasing yourself. Only you know what you need. Only you truly understand the difficulties and joys present in your heart. No one can live your life for you. Nor can anyone endure your pain or fully experience your peace and happiness on your behalf. Life is an ongoing chain of interconnected causes and conditions. Every decision we make today sows a seed for tomorrow. If we are constantly afraid of being ridiculed by others, it's as if we are handing our destiny over to them. Think about it. Can anyone eat for you and feel full? Can anyone breathe for you and live? This body, this soul, this life belongs to you, and you must be its master. The Buddha taught that each person is responsible for their own karma. No one can bear it for you. No one can suffer on your behalf. When you understand that, you will feel lighter at heart, because you no longer need to strive to be a copy of someone else, nor do you have to live in fear of his meaningless gossip. There's a beautiful image to reflect on. A blacksmith, day after day, strikes a red-hot, hard piece of iron with a hammer. But thanks to that persistence, each hammer blow, each flame, gradually forges a shining sword. We humans are similar. The hardships and challenges, the slander and criticism, are precisely the hammer and fire that forge our resilience. If we look with the eyes of mindfulness, we will not complain or be angry, but rather smile and be grateful because life has given us the opportunity to grow. In the echoing bell, we clearly see a simple yet profound lesson. This life is ours, and living well each day is the best answer to all the noise out there. Don't let your mind be swept away by praise or blame. Don't let rumors become binding chains. As long as you maintain inner peace, worries will naturally dissolve like morning mist under the rising sun. You may not be rich enough, successful enough, or perfect enough in the eyes of others. But if you live each day with awareness, know how to love yourself, and do good deeds, then that is the greatest success. There is one thing in life that almost everyone has experienced: public opinion. People can say anything about us, whether right or wrong, whether well-intentioned or malicious, whether praise or criticism. These words can come unexpectedly, like a contrary wind. Sometimes they are gentle and fleeting. Other times, they are heavy, like a stone pressing on your chest. If we constantly dwell on them, if we let the praise and blame of others dictate our mood, then we will never find peace in this life. Public opinion never stops, just like a rushing river. We cannot stop it, even if we try, but we can choose how to listen, how to react, whether to hold on to it or let it go. Once we understand this, we will feel much freer and lighter. In Buddhist teachings, the Buddha once taught that human life is impermanent, and all praise and blame are merely delusive thoughts born from a discriminating mind. A wise person does not let themselves be caught up in external noises, but always keeps their mind abiding in mindfulness. When the mind is mindful, we are not swayed by praise or blame, not shaken by gossip. Others may speak, but we have the right to choose how we live our own lives. Only we can master our own minds. No one can live for us. No one else can decide our happiness but ourselves. There's a common story that helps us easily grasp this. In a small village lived a teacher named Lan. Ms. Lan was a kind and dedicated person, spending her days teaching children. For many years, she lived alone because she poured all her love into teaching, never thinking about starting a family. However, in the eyes of the surrounding villagers, Ms. Lan became a subject of gossip. Some said she was too picky. Others said she was lazy when it came to family matters, while some even speculated she must have some defect not to marry. Thus, these rumors spread from person to person. At first, Ms. Lan was very sad. She tossed and turned, sometimes crying silently at night, wondering if she was truly abnormal or if she was living the wrong way. But after many years of enduring, she suddenly realized that public opinion never stops. People might talk about one thing today, then another tomorrow. If she kept chasing after pleasing them, she would never be herself again in this life. So, she decided to live fully for what she believed was right. She loved her profession. She loved her students. And she knew that life was most meaningful when she imparted knowledge and faith to future generations. When she lived serenely for herself, public opinion was still there, but it could no longer cause her pain. Ms. Lan's story teaches us one thing. Only when we live peacefully for ourselves can we truly be happy. People can say anything, but our lives are ours to decide. If we look deeper into the Buddha's teachings, we will see that public opinion is like a wind. It blows, and then it's gone, never staying. If we open the door of our minds to welcome the wind, letting it sweep away all the peace in our hearts, then we are the ones causing our own suffering. But if we close that door with mindfulness, we will stand firm like a mountain. The wind, though it blows, will only pass by. The Buddha once taught about the 8 worldly winds: gain and loss, praise and blame, fame and disgrace, pleasure and pain. These 8 winds blow into everyone's life. If the mind is not firm, we will be swept away. But if the mind knows how to return to mindfulness, we will see that these 8 winds are just the ordinary course of things. They come and go. There's nothing to cling to or suffer over. Think about it. Every morning when we wake up, open our phones and scroll through social media, we see hundreds of comments of praise and blame. Some praise us as beautiful, others criticize us as ugly. Some admire our work, but others mock it as worthless. If we let ourselves be bothered by all of it, we will always be exhausted in the whirlwind of gossip. We only need to remember that our lives cannot be lived by the opinions of others. And then we will know how to let go. Practicing letting go of public opinion is not something too distant. Whenever you hear praise or criticism, stop for a moment, breathe in, breathe out, and ask yourself, does this statement truly reflect who I am? If the words are true, smile, acknowledge them, and make adjustments. If the words are false, also smile and let them go. Because there's no need to carry things that don't belong to you in your heart. Each day, spend a few minutes sitting still, closing your eyes, listening to your breath, and silently reminding yourself, I live for myself, not for public opinion. As you practice this, gradually you will find that praise and blame no longer cause you suffering. In daily life, family members, colleagues, neighbors, friends, anyone can become public opinion. But instead of complaining, let's thank them. Because thanks to them, we learn how to return to ourselves, how to let go, how to abide in mindfulness. They are like touchstones testing gold. The more words there are, the more opportunities we have to train our minds. A blacksmith who wants a good piece of iron must put it into the fire, temper it many times. Humans are the same. To have a firm mind, one must go through many instances of praise, blame, and gossip, and then learn to let go. You can try it today. The next time someone says something unkind about you, instead of reacting in anger, silently take a deep breath, smile, and tell yourself, their opinion is theirs. My life is mine. Just by practicing this every day, you will feel the power of letting go. Always remember that public opinion can hurt us if we allow it, but we can also make it harmless through our inner peace. No one can live our life for us. No one can decide our happiness for us. As long as we live well each day, do what is right according to our conscience, and sow good seeds in life, public opinion will only be a passing breeze. Live for yourself, keep your mind at peace, and worries will naturally dissipate. In life, all of us have stumbled at times, made wrong decisions that cost us tears, money, or even many long years. But if we look closely, we will realize that these very mistakes are the steps that lift us up, the torch that illuminates the path to our growth. A person who has never made a mistake, never failed, has also never learned how to get back up and become stronger. A mistake is not a failure. A mistake is a valuable lesson that life sends us so we can refine and temper ourselves, like a blacksmith grinding a rough silver ingot into a shining object. In the teachings of the Buddha, humans are inherently imperfect. Everyone is born with ignorance and karmic forces. Because of ignorance, we stray. Because of karmic forces, we make mistakes. But the important thing is not how many times we have erred, but whether after each mistake we awaken and learn the lesson to move forward. The Buddha once said, "On the path of spiritual practice, no one avoids mistakes, but every mistake acknowledged with mindfulness becomes an opportunity for our minds to grow." Therefore, mistakes are not meant to end things, but to restart with brighter wisdom and a more resilient soul. Let's look at a relatable everyday story. Tung, a young man with many ambitions, invested all his savings and borrowed more to open a small coffee shop. On opening day, he was full of hope, thinking that with passion and diligence, the shop would attract many customers and gradually become his pride. However, life was not as simple as he imagined. Due to a lack of management experience, he didn't know how to calculate costs or retain customers. Gradually, the shop became deserted. Income couldn't cover expenses, and debts piled up. Finally, after just 1 year, he had to close the shop with a heavy heart. Initially, Tung was in immense pain, feeling like a failure, as if all his hopes had crumbled. Many nights he lost sleep, blaming himself and feeling ashamed before friends and family. But after those months, he gradually understood that he hadn't truly lost everything. The shop closed, the capital was gone, but the most valuable thing he gained was a lesson. He learned not to rush into investing without thorough understanding. He learned management, and he learned the importance of patience instead of discouragement. He resolved to study more about business, worked as an employee to gain experience, and saved capital from scratch. A few years later, he opened a small shop, this time not grand, but solid, not rushed, but persistent. And that shop became a stable source of income. If we look from the outside, we might say Tung failed. But in reality, he grew more thanks to that very failure. Mistakes didn't push him into a deep hole. Mistakes were the strict teacher who made him learn lessons no school could teach. And similarly, in every life, mistakes are indispensable. Because of mistakes, we have the opportunity to refine ourselves, to grow. Buddhist philosophy views mistakes not as an end, but as an essential link in the chain of cause and effect. Today's mistake, if we are mindful, will become the foundation for tomorrow's wisdom. A seed falls to the ground, initially seeming lost, but in reality, it is silently germinating for a future green plant. Our mistakes are the same. If we know how to use them to nourish our minds, they become the fertile ground for enlightenment. The Buddha once taught that on the path to liberation, everyone must go through countless lifetimes, and in those countless lives, it's impossible not to make mistakes. But it is precisely through those stumbles that humans gradually learn how to walk the right path. In everyday life, we can also see the image of a silversmith. The initial silver ingot is rough and coarse, without much value. But through the craftsman's hands, each hammer blow, each time it's heated in the red fire, each careful polish, the silver ingot gradually transforms into an exquisite, sparkling object. Humans are the same. Mistakes are the hammer blows, the times we are heated in the fire of life that cause us pain. But it is precisely through these that our souls are tempered, our character refined. If there were no mistakes, we would remain rough, like unworked silver. So how should we practice when facing mistakes? First, when a mistake happens, instead of avoiding or denying it, bravely admit it. Mistakes don't make us small. Only avoidance makes us weak. When we dare to look at it, dare to name it, at that very moment, we take a big step towards maturity. Next, use mindfulness to observe. Instead of blaming yourself, ask, what does this mistake teach me? What can I learn? What do I need to change? Write down these lessons and remind yourself daily. Finally, forgive yourself. Forgiveness is not about forgetting, but about accepting that you are human. And humans have the right to err, but also the responsibility to correct. You can try a small practice right now. Recall a past mistake. Perhaps it was a wrong decision that cost you money, or an unkind word that hurt someone. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and whisper in your mind, "I made a mistake, but I learned something valuable. Thank you, mistake, for teaching me." Repeat this a few times, and you will feel lighter at heart, no longer burdened. And every day, remind yourself that no mistake is meaningless, as long as you learn from it. Most importantly, you must engrave in your heart that only you can be the master of your own life. No one can live your life for you. No one can bear the burden of your mistakes, just as no one can grow up for you. Each mistake is a brick. If you know how to place it correctly, it will build a sturdy house for your life. If you know how to let go of resentment and embrace it, mistakes will transform into lessons, into strength. Therefore, don't be afraid of mistakes. Embrace them as an essential part of life. See them as a tempering fire, as a mirror that illuminates your soul. Remember that a mistake is not a failure. A mistake is the wisest teacher. It helps us become stronger, wiser. Just keep living well every day. Let others do as they please. Keep your mind at peace, and worries will naturally dissipate. In life, we cannot avoid being drawn into gossip, disputes, or unwanted conflicts. Sometimes it's just a few words of chatter in the alley. Sometimes it's heated arguments within the family. Sometimes it's seemingly small incidents that disturb our hearts all day. Many people often suffer not because of major events, but because they don't know how to keep their minds at peace amidst the storms of gossip and difficulties. People say, "The wind outside blows away, but the wind inside our hearts is what truly exhausts us. When we let the words and actions of others touch and stir our inner being, we are the ones who open the door, inviting troubles to step in." The Buddha taught that we cannot control others, but we can absolutely master our own minds. Just like a lake in the wind, we cannot forbid the wind from blowing, but we can keep our minds from becoming murky or turbulent. A still lake can reflect the moon, while a turbulent lake only reflects distortion. Our minds are the same. If we can maintain stillness, we will see all truths clearly. But when the mind is full of anger, resentment, and gossip, we only see life through a distorted lens, and we are the first to suffer. Mrs. Mai's story is a simple yet profound example. Mrs. Mai was a rural woman who spent her life working hard to raise her children. In her old age, she only had a piece of land inherited from her parents. But when she intended to transfer the land to her eldest son, her relatives began to dispute it, each claiming they were being disadvantaged. Words went back and forth endlessly. During those days, Mrs. Mai heard many harsh words, with some relatives even saying she was biased and unfair. If she had chosen to retaliate, the argument would likely have dragged on indefinitely, and family bonds would have shattered. But she chose silence. Not silence out of weakness, but silence out of understanding that back and forth arguments would only worsen the situation. She sat in her small house, looking out at the garden, breathing deeply and keeping her mind calm. Ultimately, thanks to her composure, everything was resolved amicably. The land was still divided, but family relationships did not crack. Mrs. Mai understood that she could not control public opinion. She could not make others stop gossiping, but she could keep her heart peaceful. In Buddhist teachings, a peaceful mind is likened to a still lake. When we keep our mind like that lake, even if the wind blows, the water remains clear. Even if others stir up gossip, we can still reflect the truth clearly. Conversely, when we let the wind create waves and our hearts are filled with worries, we will suffer. And from that suffering, we create words and actions that further complicate the situation. The Buddha once taught that troubles arise not because of many worldly matters, but because our minds are not yet strong enough to be still. One way to practice maintaining a peaceful mind is to return to the breath. You can try it now. Sit down, close your eyes, take a deep breath through your nose, feel the air entering your chest, then exhale slowly, releasing all tension with each breath. Imagine your mind is a tranquil lake. Each breath is like a gentle breeze passing over, not disturbing the surface of the lake. When a troublesome thought appears, don't chase it. Just acknowledge it and continue breathing, as if watching a leaf floating on the water. It comes, then it goes. Just 5 minutes a day like this, and you will find your heart settling, no longer carried away by external gossip. Modern life is full of fluctuations, from daily expenses to overwhelming news, from a neighbor's unintentional remark to workplace pressure. If we don't practice keeping our minds at peace, it's like a small boat in a vast ocean. Even a small wave is enough to make us unsteady. But when we can keep our minds like a still lake, we will be like a boat with a firm rudder. We won't fear the waves, nor worry about strong winds, because the wind outside cannot sink the boat. Only when the boat leaks from within is it truly dangerous. Our minds are the same. No one outside can make us suffer if we don't let suffering cling to us from within. Perhaps you have experienced days when your heart was heavy with gossip, sleepless nights pondering someone's words. Remember that you cannot forbid others from speaking, but you can choose how you react. People can bring you stories, but you have the right to choose not to accept them. When we keep our minds at peace, we will clearly see one thing. All storms will pass, and only our hearts decide whether we suffer or find peace. Therefore, engrave in your heart that only you can be the master of your own life. No one lives for you, nor does anyone keep your mind peaceful for you. Others may gossip, may contend, but if you maintain a tranquil mind, all storms will naturally dissipate. Keep your mind like a lake. Keep your heart like the Mother Earth, peacefully receiving, quietly letting go. Then you will see that living well each day is truly the path to genuine happiness. There is a truth that many of us often forget. Happiness does not come from separation. It's not about how much money, how many possessions, or how many praises we receive from others. True happiness comes from a grateful soul. The person who nurtures gratitude in every living moment holds the key to opening the door to lasting peace. Because when we are grateful, we stop complaining. We stop comparing, and our hearts open to receive everything, no matter how small or great, as a precious gift. You might not notice it, but just being able to breathe fresh air in the morning, to see the sunrise, to hear birds singing on the rooftop, are blessings that many yearn for, but do not possess. We often seek grand things and forget that happiness is already present in every breath and every present moment. The Buddha once taught that one who has a grateful heart is always rich, because true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the ability to find contentment in simple things. When we are grateful to our parents for giving birth to us and raising us, grateful to our teachers for guiding us as we grew, grateful to friends who walked with us, and even to those who hurt us, because thanks to them, we learned lessons about forgiveness, our lives become much more complete. Gratitude is a clear, cool spring that nourishes the soul, helping us overcome the barren days of challenges. It's like rain falling on dry land, causing green shoots to sprout. An ungrateful person, even with abundant material possessions, still feels deprived and dissatisfied. A grateful person, even with just a simple bowl of rice, feels complete joy. Just change your perspective. Instead of asking why you don't have more, try looking at what you do have and silently saying thank you. You will see the whole world change, just like a glass of water. A pessimist sees the missing part, while a grateful person sees the full part and is happy to have it to quench their thirst. There is a story I want to tell. The story of a boy named Min. Min was born into a poor family. Every day he went to school, he had to walk a long, sun-drenched, windy road. In the mornings, Min often stopped by a small bakery at the end of the alley. The baker woman sympathized with the situation, so whenever Min bought a simple loaf of bread, she would discreetly tuck in an extra piece of Vietnamese pork sausage. She considered it a way to give him more energy for his studies. Min grew up, went through many hardships, and thanks to his perseverance and learning, became successful. One day, when he had enough means, Min returned to his hometown, found the baker woman from years ago, and gifted her a small house as a token of gratitude. Her tears fell not because of the value of the house, but because of the sincere gratitude of a child from years past who had never forgotten her kindness. That story reminds us that gratitude doesn't need to wait until we have a lot to express. It can start with small things, with a word of thanks, a bow, a look of appreciation. It is this nurturing that gradually becomes the energy that leads people to true happiness. In Buddhist teachings, gratitude is considered one of the important good virtues. Gratitude to parents is called filial piety. Gratitude to teachers and mentors is called respecting teachers and honoring the Dharma. Gratitude to all living beings is called compassion. Gratitude to all circumstances is called wisdom. Therefore, people with grateful hearts naturally find peace, because they no longer complain, no longer whine, no longer dwell on what they don't have. Instead, they realize that causes and conditions are wonderfully miraculous. Every moment of life is an opportunity to sow blessings and repay kindness. You can try to look back at your day, from waking up to hear birds singing, having a roof to shield you from rain and sun, having a full meal, having hands to work, having feet to walk, having loved ones to cherish. You will see how truly abundant your life is. That grateful heart is like a lamp shining in the darkness, helping us not to get lost in the winds of greed and anger. Practicing gratitude does not require anything complicated. You can start right at this moment. Close your eyes, breathe in deeply, then breathe out slowly. And during that time, silently think of something that makes you feel grateful today. It could be your mother's smile, a small help from a friend, or just the sunlight streaming through the window. As you maintain this habit every day, your heart will gradually become gentler, no longer feeling as much sorrow as before. That is the healing power of gratitude. The Buddha once said that a grateful person, even in poverty, is happy, while an ungrateful person, even in a golden palace, cannot find peace. Therefore, if you want lasting happiness, start by nurturing a grateful heart. Imagine life as a garden. An ungrateful person sees weeds and only complains, so the garden becomes increasingly withered. A grateful person sees flowers blooming and smiles while tending them, so the garden becomes increasingly radiant. Do you want your life to be barren land or a garden full of fragrant flowers? It all lies in your own choice. And that choice is the beginning of gratitude. For when we are grateful, we sow seeds of peace and joy in the garden of our soul. And from there, the tree of happiness will grow strong and enduring, regardless of storms. So, if you are seeking happiness, don't rush out to look for it in money or fame. Turn inward, listen to your heart, and practice saying thank you more often. Thank your parents, thank your loved ones, thank even those who hurt you, because they helped you grow. Thank every day you get to live. Let every morning when you wake up be a moment you feel lucky to still breathe, to still see this world. Only you can master your own life, and only gratitude can truly bring peace to your heart. Don't wait until you lose something to appreciate it. Live every moment fully, and cherish everything you have, because gratitude is the foundation of lasting happiness. In this life, all of us, to some extent, have looked at someone and quickly formed an opinion. Sometimes we just see them dressed simply and think they are poor or lazy. Sometimes we hear someone speak slowly and assume they are incompetent or unintelligent. And sometimes, just a clumsy action from someone else leads us to conclude they're careless or irresponsible. These judgments, though seemingly small and fleeting, leave deep imprints in our minds, turning into contempt, dislike, and gradually building into a wall separating us from others. We don't realize that when we judge others, we are actually putting shackles on our own hearts, preventing our souls from being free and at peace. The Buddha taught that every human being has their own suffering and unique story that outsiders cannot fully see. Looking at a flower, we see its freshness, but we don't know the flower's roots must stretch deep into the earth, enduring the hardships of rain and wind to keep its branches and leaves green. Similarly, looking at a person, we only see their outer appearance and not the journey they have traveled, the burdens they carry. Yet, our habit is to look superficially and then pass judgment. This habit makes our hearts narrow, and that narrowness becomes the cause of our anger, sorrow, and conflicts with others. There's a very concise yet profound teaching from the Buddha. Do not rejoice at the faults of others. When you see your own faults, quickly correct them. That saying is like a mirror to reflect our own minds. Because when we see the faults of others and rejoice, it means we have allowed arrogance and a competitive spirit to overcome us. And when that mind appears, we lose the ability to see ourselves. Conversely, if each time we see our own mistakes, we know how to humbly correct them. That is when the light of wisdom is kindled, helping us grow and be free. There is a small story that leaves a big lesson, the story of Han and her neighbor. Han was a hard-working woman, every day busy with cooking, shopping, and then rushing to work at her office. Her house was right next to Mai's house. Mai was a neighbor who rarely went out and rarely interacted with anyone. In Han's eyes, Mai seemed lazy. She stayed home all day, never seemed to do anything. Occasionally, hearing rumors from others, Han became even more convinced that Mai only knew how to live dependent on others, not bothering to try. And in daily conversations, Han didn't hesitate to utter a few critical words about her neighbor, who supposedly only lived off others. But one day, while unexpectedly dropping by, Han learned that behind that closed door, Mai was caring for her bedridden elderly mother every day. Every meal, every sleep, every drop of water was carefully attended to by Mai. Not only that, Mai also managed to work from home to earn a little extra income, but she was too busy to interact with neighbors. When Han saw that scene, she felt as if she had been awakened. Her previous judgments suddenly became a heavy burden in her heart. Han felt small and ignorant, and from then on, instead of looking at Mai with contempt, she proactively inquired about her well-being, offered help, and even felt compassion for Mai's silent sacrifice. That story is not just Han's. It is also a mirror, reflecting many of us. How many times have we rushed to judge, only to realize how wrong we were when the truth was revealed? Judging others actually hurts ourselves more. Because when we judge, we plant in our minds the seeds of anger, arrogance, and narrow-mindedness. When these seeds sprout, they will keep our hearts constantly tense, comparing, and restless. But when we replace judgment with understanding and empathy, we sow seeds of compassion in our minds, making our hearts open, light, and joyful. Life is like a mirror. When we look into it with criticism, we will see criticism reflected back at us. But when we look with a smile of tolerance, we will see that smile multiply. So, instead of looking at others with judgmental eyes, try looking at them with compassionate eyes. Who knows, at the moment we change our way of looking might also be the moment we free ourselves from useless worries. The Buddha taught about cause and condition, that everything in this world has a cause and effect. No one becomes the way they are by chance. The person we consider lazy might be suffering from an illness. The person we find annoying might have just gone through a painful experience. The person we criticize might be trying their best within their capabilities. We only see the tip of the iceberg, while the hidden, deep parts of their hearts we never fully see. Yet we rush to use our own eyes to measure their lives. That's like trying to measure the depth of an ocean with a short ruler. To truly live peacefully, we need to cultivate the habit of looking inward. Whenever something about someone else irritates us, instead of judging, we can ask ourselves, what is within my own heart? Because often the annoyance we attribute to others is actually a reflection of our own inner anxieties. When we see someone angry, perhaps there are seeds of anger within us too. When we see someone lazy, perhaps there is procrastination within us too. If we look back, we will realize that others are just mirrors for us to see ourselves more clearly. And when we see clearly, we have the opportunity to transform. In daily life, we can practice empathy through very small actions. When we hear someone say something unpleasant, instead of immediately retaliating, we can pause for a breath and remind ourselves, this person must be suffering. When we see someone acting contrary to our wishes or hear criticism, we can smile and think, perhaps they are facing difficulties that I don't know about. Just a small shift in our way of thinking, and we will find our minds becoming lighter and our relationships becoming smoother. To cultivate this habit, you can try a small exercise. Every evening before going to bed, recall a situation during the day that made you uncomfortable with someone. Then, instead of letting your mind be annoyed, try to put yourself in their shoes. Imagine what they are carrying, and silently send them a wish. May you be at peace. May you find lightness. Practicing this every day will gradually soften and broaden your heart, and the habit of judging will fall away. You see, judging only makes our minds more constricted. But understanding and empathy help us open our hearts. When we open our hearts, not only are others comforted, but we ourselves are also liberated. Life is already full of hardships. If we add the burdens of criticism, we are only making things harder for ourselves. But if we know how to let go of judgment, we will gain the most precious gift, inner peace in every moment. So remember clearly, do not hastily judge others because you have not walked the entire path they have. Everyone has their own story, their own suffering, and their own journey. We only see the surface, never the depth. Instead of criticizing, choose empathy. Instead of judging, choose love. Then your heart will be as vast as the ocean, no longer shaken by the small waves of others' words or actions. Only you can master your own life. No one lives for you, and no one can take away the peace in your heart if you do not allow it. So do not let ignorant judgments become chains that bind you. Practice looking at life with eyes of compassion. Practice understanding people with an open heart. And then you will see worries naturally disappear, and peace naturally arise. Simply because you have chosen the right path, the path of empathy, instead of judgment. In today's hurried life, people easily get caught up in the whirlwind of fame and fortune, competition, and external glamour, sometimes forgetting the most fundamental values that make up character: sincerity and integrity. One can build a grand house, buy a luxurious car, host lavish parties. But all these things will pass. Money can be lost, houses can fall into disrepair, and parties are only fleeting moments. Only integrity and sincerity are treasures that cannot be destroyed. No one can steal, and the more they are preserved, the more they shine. A sincere person does not need to speak much, does not need to show off. Just by living true to their heart, they naturally gain prestige and respect from others. The Buddha taught that for people to find peace, they must first keep their minds pure. Keeping the mind pure does not mean escaping life, but living an ordinary life with complete integrity, without deceit, without trickery, without exploiting others for personal gain. That is the practice of the fundamental precepts that the Buddha taught over 2,500 years ago. Among the 5 precepts for lay Buddhists, there is the precept of not engaging in false speech, which means not lying, not deceiving, not using words to harm others. Because a lie may bring short-term benefits, but it will leave a long-lasting wound in the hearts of others and in our own souls. A sincere word may mean a small, immediate loss, but it will foster trust, create stability in relationships, and strengthen our own character. Sincerity is like clear water. One can see to the bottom, see the truth, without ambiguity or concealment. When we live sincerely, we don't have to fear being exposed by anyone, nor do we have to live in a state of unease. Because every word we speak, every action we take, comes from an honest heart. A sincere person brings a sense of security to others wherever they go, because others know that by our side, they do not need to be wary or on guard. Therefore, sincerity is the foundation of all lasting relationships, from friendship, family ties, to marital bonds, and even societal relationships. There is a simple yet touching story. It is the story of Uncle Nam, a farmer in a rural area. One day, on his way home from the fields, he accidentally saw a purse of money lying by the roadside. He picked it up, opened it, and saw a large sum of money inside, enough for him to cover his long-standing financial difficulties, and even have some left over to repair his house and buy conveniences. But Uncle Nam never even thought of keeping the money for himself. He took the purse to the commune cultural house, asking people to announce it to find the owner. A few days later, someone from the village came, moved to tears upon receiving their valuable property back. That person thanked Uncle Nam profusely, and everyone in the village respected him even more. From then on, Uncle Nam became a shining example of honesty, loved, trusted, and respected by everyone in the neighborhood. The lesson here is clear. Sincerity and honesty do not need boasting, do not need billboards. Just by living genuinely, people naturally recognize and acknowledge it. A virtuous person never has to promote themselves, never needs to prove themselves with words. Because their very actions, their very upright life, are the most eloquent testimony. That is also the spirit of the precepts that the Buddha taught. Keeping the precepts is not just to avoid creating bad karma, but also a way to build character, cultivate trust, and lay the foundation for liberation. If we reflect deeper, we will see that sincerity not only brings us prestige, but also nourishes peace in our minds. A person who does not live sincerely always has to scheme, always has to remember what they said, what they did to conceal things. The more they lie, the more they have to lie to cover it up. And then their mind is always tense and anxious. That is the restlessness created by themselves. Conversely, a sincere person is simple, speaks what they think, acts purely. So their soul is at ease, without fear, without remorse. This ease is true happiness. A person's integrity is most clearly shown when they face a choice between immediate gain and long-term rightness. A person lacking sincerity is easily tempted by temporary benefits, willing to sacrifice their dignity to achieve what they want. But a person of integrity will choose to maintain purity, even if it means incurring some loss, because they understand that losing a little profit is insignificant compared to keeping a peaceful and clear mind. And then this very choice creates trust in the eyes of others. That trust is the most valuable asset in life. Because when we have the trust of others, we gain companionship, affection, and lasting support. In life, sincerity lies not in grand gestures, but in every small action. When we promise something to someone, we should try to keep our word, because each broken promise erodes a little trust. When we speak, let our words come from an honest heart. Do not embellish to please, because each embellishment sows a seed of deceit. When we live true to ourselves, without needing to pretend to impress anyone, that is when we are protecting our integrity. And that integrity will gradually spread like a fragrance, earning the admiration and respect of others. You might think that living sincerely in this competitive society will make you disadvantaged, that others will take advantage of you. But in reality, sincerity does not mean naivete. It does not mean letting anyone do whatever they want. Sincerity means we do not lie or deceive, but we still use wisdom to choose our friends, to avoid bad things, and to keep a distance from unhealthy things. Sincerity goes hand in hand with wisdom. That is true steadfastness. The Buddha once taught that observing precepts without wisdom can easily lead to extremism. But having wisdom without observing precepts can easily lead to indulgence. Therefore, sincerity is how we practice observing precepts with accompanying wisdom, so that life is both pure, peaceful, and steadfast. To practice sincerity and maintain integrity, you can start with very small things in daily life. Cultivate the habit of not lying, even seemingly harmless lies. When asked, instead of inventing a reason, we can tell the truth, but do so gently and skillfully, both to maintain sincerity and not to hurt others. Cultivate the habit of keeping promises, even small ones. Practice living true to your emotions. There's no need to pretend to be happy when you're sad. No need to feign agreement when your heart doesn't concur. Each small action like this will gradually nurture a strong character within you, so you can live true to yourself and be trusted by everyone. Remember that living sincerely is sowing good karma. When we live sincerely, we plant trust in the hearts of others, and that trust will return to us as a blessing. Others will be willing to help us when we need it, because they believe in our integrity. Others will show us respect because they know we live genuinely, without deceit. And more importantly, we will always feel at peace within our minds, because we know we are not doing anything against our conscience. Only you can master your own life, and only sincerity can help you maintain your integrity. No one can live for you, nor can anyone build your character for you. Integrity is not something that can be bought or sold. It is the result of every thought, every action, every word you sow each day. So, guard your sincerity as you guard your eyes, because if you lose your eyes, you can no longer see the light. If you lose sincerity, you can no longer see the path to peace. Live sincerely, because sincerity does not need to be ostentatious, but it will naturally spread. Maintain your integrity, because integrity is not only a shield protecting you from temptations, but also a torch illuminating your path. On the long journey of human life, when you live sincerely, you will feel lighter at heart. You will find life more beautiful, and you will realize that worries naturally dissipate and peace naturally arises, simply because you have chosen to live true to yourself. Perhaps in this life, all of us have been hurt, to to some extent, by someone. It could be a close friend who made promises and then turned their back. It could be a family member who said words that caused us pain. Or it could be a stranger who unintentionally offended us. And usually, our first reaction is to cling tightly to anger, blame, and even hatred. We think that holding on to that anger will make us stronger, will help us never forget, to be vigilant, to guard against. But in truth, anger never makes us stronger. It only makes us shamed, binding our souls in an invisible prison whose door we lock ourselves. And then we are the ones who suffer in that prison. The Buddha taught that anger is like holding a red-hot coal to throw at someone. But before you can throw it, your own hand is burned. When we cling to anger, the first to suffer is ourselves. We might lose sleep. Meals become unappetizing. Our minds are always haunted, and days pass in resentment. Others may have forgotten about it. Perhaps they are happily living their lives, but only we remain trapped in hatred, causing our own suffering. Therefore, forgiveness is not for others to find peace, but for us to be liberated. There is a story that the Buddhist Dharma channel wants to tell you, the story of Hoa. Hoa was a kind, hard-working man. He had a close friend from childhood. They had shared meals, slept together, and gone through life's difficulties together. But then one day, his friend borrowed a substantial sum of money from Hoa, promising to repay it within a few months. Trusting their friendship, Hoa helped without hesitation. However, afterward, his friend disappeared without a word, without a trace. At first, Hoa felt pain, like a knife cutting through him, losing both money and friendship, feeling utterly betrayed. He was angry. He resented. He swore he would never forgive. Every time he remembered the incident, his heart grew heavy. His mind reeled, and he lost interest in work. He lived in deep bitterness. Then time passed. A few years later, by chance, he attended a Dharma talk at a temple. Hoa heard the venerable teaching. Anger is a fire that burns oneself. Forgiveness is the path that leads one out of that fire. Those words gradually seeped into his heart. He realized that his friend had gone far away, had chosen his own path, and Hoa could not change the past. If he kept clinging to that hatred, the one who would suffer and be disadvantaged was himself. So, Hoa practiced letting go, practicing forgiveness, not because his friend deserved to be forgiven, but because Hoa deserved to be at peace. And since he was able to let go, his mind became lighter. His work was more prosperous. His family was happier, and his health improved significantly. That story shows us one very clear thing. Forgiveness is a precious gift that we give to ourselves. When we forgive, we no longer let others hold the key to our souls. We regain mastery of ourselves, open the prison door, and step out, breathing freedom and light. Others may not change, may still live as before, but we have changed. We have grown. We have learned to love ourselves more. The most beautiful image for forgiveness is perhaps that of flowing water. Water does not retain impurities. It sweeps them away and renews itself. Every river has been muddied by rain and storms, but day after day, the water becomes clear again because it knows how to purify itself, how to let go of excess silt. Our minds are the same. When we know how to forgive, we are like flowing water. carrying away worries and resentments so that our hearts become clear, cool, and ready to receive new, peaceful things in life. In Buddhist teachings, forgiveness is closely linked with compassion. The Buddha once taught that hatred cannot be resolved by hatred, but only by love. Anger is like darkness, and forgiveness is light. As soon as a lamp is lit, darkness naturally disappears. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting everything, nor does it mean condoning mistakes, but choosing not to let our minds be bound by the past anymore. It is a sign of maturity, an understanding that everything is impermanent. Everyone makes mistakes sometimes, and we don't need to carry that burden forever. So, how do we practice forgiveness in daily life? First, we need to identify our own emotions. When we are angry, let's admit that we are angry. Don't deny it. Anger is not bad. It's a natural reaction. But we don't let anger control us. Take a deep breath. Look at that emotion as you would look at a cloud floating across the sky. That cloud won't stay forever. It will dissipate. It will change. We just need not to cling to it. Then, try to put yourself in the shoes of the person who hurt you. Perhaps they were unintentional. Perhaps they are also suffering. Perhaps they acted that way because they lacked wisdom, lacked the right way to behave. When we understand, our hearts will gradually soften, and forgiveness will blossom. Another way to practice forgiveness is to contemplate impermanence. Everything in this world passes. Nothing lasts forever. The person who hurt us today may no longer be present tomorrow, and we ourselves will one day leave this life. So why cling to anger when human life is as fleeting as a dewdrop on a blade of grass? It is better to let go so that each passing day is a day of tranquility. You can try it right now. Think of someone you are still angry with. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and imagine that person standing in front of you. You can silently say, "I know you hurt me, but I choose to forgive. Not for you, but because I want peace." Try repeating that sentence a few times, and you will feel lighter at heart, no longer burdened. There's no need to meet them directly, no need to say it aloud. As long as in your heart you truly want to let go, forgiveness has already begun to blossom. Forgiveness is a journey, not a one-time event. Sometimes we have to practice many times. Sometimes we have to remind ourselves every day. But as long as we are patient, layers of anger will gradually dissolve, like ice melting when the sun rises. And then one day, we will find our hearts filled with peace and freedom. The Buddhist Dharma channel wants to strongly remind you of one thing. Only you can liberate yourself. No one else can forgive for you, and no one else can live your life in peace. Forgiveness is the key that opens the door to happiness. Anger is a burden. Forgiveness is liberation. Choose forgiveness because you deserve peace. In this life, there are times when we feel like we are standing before a locked door. We yearn for happiness, but don't know how to open it. We try, we strive, we search, but we only feel more and more tired. In reality, happiness is not something distant. It is not out of reach. It is only locked away by our own delusions, attachments, and lack of clarity. And the key to opening that door is no secret. It is in our hands. We just haven't realized it. There are 3 keys that anyone can hold, and if used correctly, happiness will open up. These are accepting what cannot be changed, daring to change what needs to be changed, and letting go of what does not belong to you. These three keys are the spirit of Tui Duyen, adapting to conditions, in Buddhism, the path to peace. First, let's talk about acceptance. In life, there are many things beyond our control. Time passes, age comes, illness visits, death approaches. These are unavoidable truths. Some things have already happened. Some people have chosen their own paths. Some unexpected events occur. The more we struggle and resist, the more exhausted we become. Just as when we fall into water, the more we panic and thrash, the easier it is to drown. But if we relax and let our bodies float naturally, we are lifted up. Acceptance does not mean resignation, but knowing how to face the truth directly, not deceiving ourselves, not having unrealistic dreams about things that cannot be, and thereby maintaining composure. The Buddha once taught that suffering largely comes from not accepting reality, from wanting life to be different, wanting others to conform to our wishes. When we know how to accept, our minds will be like a calm lake, no longer ruffled by the winds of change. Second, we need to dare to change what can be changed. There are circumstances, habits, thoughts that if we don't change, we will forever be immersed in suffering. Many people complain that life is unfair, but refuse to step out of their comfort zone, refuse to train themselves, refuse to find new paths. Change is not easy because it requires courage, patience, and even faith. But only change can bring a different outcome. A sick person, if they accept that the illness is real, but refuse to change their lifestyle, their condition will worsen. A family with conflicts, if they accept the conflicts, but don't change their behavior, the conflicts will never be resolved. Therefore, the Buddha taught us to be diligent, tin tan, meaning to diligently train and transform ourselves daily, from words and actions to thoughts. Changing oneself is changing at the root, sowing new seeds to reap new fruits. And finally, we need to let go of what does not belong to us. In this world, there are things that the more we hold on to, the more we suffer. Clinging to others' words, we suffer. Clinging to a cracked relationship, we suffer. Clinging to unstable possessions, we are restless. Clinging to anger, we burn ourselves up. Letting go does not mean being indifferent or irresponsible, but understanding that some things are not inherently ours. Holding on only adds to our burden. It's like walking a long road with an overly heavy backpack. Just by shedding a few things, we become lighter. Letting go is an art of happiness, the wisdom of someone who knows how to live. The Buddha taught that life is impermanent. Everything has a time to come and a time to go. When we know how to let go, we will find our hearts wide open and free. There is a very common story that contains all three of these keys. It's the story of Mrs. Lion. Mrs. Lion married young, and her family life was happy for a short time before her husband passed away from a long illness. She alone worked hard to raise her children. Her youngest son, who was her greatest hope, decided to drop out of school early and work far from home. She was heartbroken. She wanted her son to pursue education. She was sad at losing her spiritual support. She cried for many nights. But then time made her understand that there are some things that that cannot be changed. Her husband's death could not be altered no matter how she wished. Her son's decision, even if she forbade or was angry, he had already chosen his path. She accepted that truth, no longer blaming, no longer complaining. Then she gradually changed herself. She no longer lingered in her small house with loneliness, but went to the village pagoda, participated in volunteer work, chanted scriptures, and listened to Dharma talks. She began to engage in charitable activities, visiting difficult families, sharing what she had. Each time, she felt lighter at heart, realizing that life still had meaning, still had joy. From a woman who only knew suffering, she became a woman full of strength, living a useful life for others. And most importantly, she learned to let go. She no longer clung to the image of her deceased husband with regret and sorrow, but transformed it into gratitude, preserving beautiful memories to continue living. She no longer tried to force her youngest son to return and live with her, but let him choose his own path. She let go of unnecessary expectations to live peacefully in the present. Thanks to acceptance, change, and letting go, Mrs. Lyon found peace in her soul. Everyone in the village respected her because she was gentle, sincere, and always smiled. That story shows us that happiness is not about having everything, but about knowing how to use these 3 keys to open the door of our minds. When we know how to accept, we no longer suffer from the unchangeable. When we dare to change, we create a new life. When we know how to let go, we are no longer bound, but are free. That is true happiness. In the Buddha's teachings, there is a very good concept called tui duyen, adapting to conditions. Tui duyen is not resignation, nor is it giving up, but knowing how to live in harmony with present conditions, knowing how to accept what has already happened, knowing how to strive to transform what can be changed, and knowing how to let go of what does not belong to oneself. A person who lives tui duyen is one who is flexible, abiding in the present, not carried away by greed, anger, or delusion. Those 3 keys are the embodiment of the spirit of tui duyen: acceptance, change, and letting go. You can practice this now. Think about something that is causing you suffering. If it is something that has already happened and you cannot change it, tell yourself, I accept this to calm my heart. If it is a bad habit that causes you suffering, ask yourself, what can I change starting today? If it is something you cling to, but it brings no peace, remind yourself, it's time to let go. Practice a little each day, and you will find your heart lighter and more joyful. I want to tell you with a strong affirmation that only you can open the door to your own happiness. No one can live your life for you. No one can be happy for you. Those 3 keys are already in your hands. Whether you dare to use them to open the door is up to you. Accept to find peace. Change to move forward. Let go to be free. That is the path to happiness. That is the spirit of a peaceful life. Dear friend, on the journey of life, no one can avoid challenges. There are times when we feel as if darkness has covered our entire life, that all doors of hope are tightly shut. But in those seemingly desperate moments, if we can maintain faith and optimism, then that darkness is precisely the screen of challenge for a brighter light to appear. An optimist is not someone who doesn't see darkness, but someone who looks into the darkness and still finds a ray of light. An optimist is not someone who doesn't suffer, but someone who dares to smile even when tears fall. And it is this faith, this smile, that is the most powerful healing medicine, not only for oneself, but also for those around. The Buddha taught that life is a sea of suffering. Everyone born carries a portion of suffering, suffering due to birth, suffering due to old age, suffering due to illness, suffering due to death, suffering due to separation, suffering due to not getting what is desired, suffering due to meeting what is hated. Challenges are a natural part of human life, but he also taught that suffering is not for us to give up or accept in despair. But suffering is an opportunity for us to awaken, to grow, to learn how to nurture a peaceful soul. Amidst challenges, if we can maintain an optimistic spirit, it is like a lamp lighting up a dark room. It's like a lotus seed rising from muddy water to release a sweet fragrance. Think about it. If in this life everyone wished for everything to be smooth and easy, without storms, would we have enough opportunities to realize the hidden strength within ourselves? It is precisely our stumbles that teach us how to get back up. It is precisely the storms that make us appreciate sunny days. It is precisely the pitch-black nights that make us cherish the sunrise. Therefore, optimism is not about deluding ourselves that life will be all rosy, but about having a firm attitude in the face of adversity. It is the belief that even if it rains and storms, the clouds will disperse and the sun will rise. I want to tell you the story of Mr. Kwan, a man in his 40s who was once the strong pillar of his entire family. One day, he discovered he had cancer. The news struck him like lightning, plunging his whole family into despair. His wife cried uncontrollably, and his children were so worried they couldn't focus on their studies. But strangely enough, the person in the most pain was the calmest. Mr. Kwan did not collapse. He accepted the truth and smiled, telling his family, "Don't cry. As long as we are alive, let's live each day to the fullest." Illness might take away his health, but it could not take away his faith and his smile. Throughout the months of treatment, Mr. Kwan endured terrible pain from medication and chemotherapy. But each time, he still tried to hold his wife's hand and encourage his children. He turned pain into strength, turned his illness into a life lesson. He did not complain to heaven and earth, did not resent his fate, but only poured his energy into living optimistically, living with love. Thanks to this strong spirit, not only did he himself receive more energy to fight the disease, but his whole family also learned to be stronger. Finally, after months of hardship, he overcame the critical stage. Doctors said that the patient's optimistic will was a precious medicine, often more powerful than actual medication, and Mr. Kwan proved it. That story reminds us of a truth. In all circumstances, we cannot decide what comes to us, but we can decide our attitude towards what happens. An optimistic attitude, faith in tomorrow, is the door to opening light in the darkness. The Buddha once taught that all things are impermanent. Suffering is also impermanent. Illness is also impermanent. If one is mindful, if one keeps the mind unwavering, then even in suffering, one can find peace. To cultivate an optimistic spirit, we can start with small things every day. Each morning when we wake up, instead of complaining about having to go to work early, we can smile because we are still awake, still breathing, still seeing the sunlight. Whenever we get stuck in traffic, instead of getting annoyed, we can use that time to listen to a Dharma talk, to contemplate patience. When facing failure, instead of blaming, we can view it as a valuable lesson to improve ourselves. Just by changing our perspective, changing our habitual reactions, we will find life much lighter. A simple practice you can try today is to write down 3 things you are grateful for each day. It could be a warm family meal, a kind inquiry from a friend, or simply a cool breeze on a summer afternoon. When our minds are oriented towards the positive, even if difficulties are still present, our hearts will feel lighter. Just as the lotus does not wait for the mud to clear out before blooming, but still rises from the mud to spread its fragrance. In the scriptures, the Buddha repeatedly mentioned the power of the mind. The mind leads all phenomena. The mind is primary. The mind creates. If we nourish a pessimistic mind, suffering will become heavier. But if we nourish an optimistic mind, light will gradually appear. Maintaining a smile, maintaining faith, is how we sow good seeds for ourselves and for others. Optimism does not erase all suffering, but optimism helps us go through suffering with steady feet and a peaceful heart. So, my friend, when life throws challenges at us, remember, the challenges are temporary, but faith can be eternal. Choose to live optimistically, because only you can master your own life. No one can live for you. Remember that even if there are storms outside, within you, there can still be a bright lamp. That lamp is faith, is optimism. And once that lamp is lit, any darkness will eventually dissipate. Have you ever sat in the middle of the night and wondered if you could stand up by yourself amidst the storm? Or are you still waiting for someone to extend a hand to save you? The truth is, no one can live your life for you. And no one bears the responsibility of carrying the suffering, the worries, the daily anxieties that you bear. Others may love you, may help you a couple of times, but no one can walk the entire path you must take. Only you can take responsibility and decide how you live your life. Don't expect anyone to come and liberate you, because even the Buddha taught that he is merely a guide, and the path must be walked by each individual themselves. That saying has awakened countless people who were immersed in the illusion that someone else in this life would bear their burdens. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha emphasized, by oneself is evil done, by oneself is one defiled, by oneself is good done, by oneself is one purified. Purity and impurity depend on oneself. No one can purify another. That is like a seed planted in the soil. Whether the soil is fertile or barren, the seed itself determines whether it will germinate or not. Others can water and care for it, but if the seed itself is weak, it cannot grow strong. Humans are the same. Someone may offer us an opportunity, a helping hand. But if we ourselves lack the courage to seize it, to steadfastly move forward, then that opportunity will slip away like sand through our fingers. Imagine a blacksmith sitting by a glowing hearth, holding a hard, raw piece of iron. He strikes it with the hammer repeatedly. Each time, the iron transforms from rough to sharp. That craftsman is an image of ourselves. And the iron is our life. If we don't strike it ourselves, don't temper it ourselves, then no one can transform us from rough to resilient. Outsiders can only see the fire's glow, hear the hammer's clang. But to become a sturdy blade, only we ourselves can endure the impacts. Life is a great forge, where hardships and difficulties are the flames, and each person is a piece of iron being tested. Whoever dares to stay, to temper themselves daily, will achieve. Whoever only wants to avoid, waiting for others to do it for them, will forever remain a raw block of iron, never becoming useful. Thayo's story is a vivid example. Thayo was born into a poor family in the countryside. Her parents were farmers, toiling year-round just to afford plain meals. Thayo's education was always a burden on her family. At times, her parents advised her to stop studying to help out. But in Thayo's heart, a burning desire to change her fate always simmered. She decided to leave her hometown alone and go to the city to work, her hands dirty. Sometimes she studied while washing dishes for hire at a restaurant. Those days were not easy. At times, Thayo was exhausted and wanted to return, but she told herself, "If I give up, who will continue this path for me?" No one. So she gritted her teeth, endured, worked from morning till night, saved every penny, and enrolled in evening classes. After many years, Thayo not only earned a degree, but also opened a small shop of her own. People look at her and only see a successful Thayo. But no one saw that throughout that long journey. No one could bear the burden of her sweat, her hasty meals, her bitter tears. She stood up on her own 2 feet. Thayo's story is like a reminder that we should not expect too much help from others, because no one owes us anything. Parents give us form. Friends accompany us for a stretch. Society creates opportunities. But if we ourselves don't know how to stand up, don't know how to appreciate and seize them, then everything becomes meaningless. The Buddha once taught, "Be islands unto yourselves. Be your own refuge. Seek no other refuge." That saying is like a guiding torch. It reminds us that we ourselves are the true source of strength. In everyday life, you can clearly see this in very small things. When the alarm clock rings in the morning, you have the choice to wake up or hit snooze. No one can go to work on time for you. When dishes pile up in the sink, if you don't roll up your sleeves and wash them yourself, they won't get clean just by prayer. When traffic jams the road, if you don't patiently weave through, no one will get you to your destination faster. These things, though small, are proof that in life we must always take responsibility for every action we take. Someone asked, "So how do I train my independent spirit?" The answer is to start with the smallest things. Cultivate the habit of not waiting for others to solve your problems. When facing difficulty, instead of complaining, ask yourself, what can I do right now? Learn to plan. Learn to manage finances. Learn to face loneliness. Buddhist Dharma calls this mindfulness, always knowing clearly what you are doing, the path you are on. When you keep your mind at peace, you will not be swept away by dependence on others. Independence does not mean selfishness, but knowing that we are first responsible for ourselves, and only then can we help and share with others. A concrete practice you can start today is to write down 3 things you did by yourself during the day before going to bed. Things you didn't rely on anyone for. It could be cooking a meal yourself, solving a difficult task at work, or simply comforting yourself through a spell of sadness. When you do this regularly, you will realize that you are stronger than you ever thought. Every line you write is a hammer blow shaping the iron of your life. Gradually, you will become sturdier, brighter, and sharper. Remember that independence is a journey, not a destination. Each day, you train a little. Each challenge you overcome is a step towards standing firmer. Don't wait for someone to reach out and pull you up, because sometimes the whole world can turn its back, and you are your only refuge. And that is also a beautiful truth, because it is only when you learn to stand on your own 2 feet that you feel free. Like a bird spreading its wide wings, flying in the limitless sky, unchained by expectation or dependence. So, the message to you right now is, don't depend. Don't wait. Don't think someone else will live this entire life for you. Believe in yourself. Cultivate a resilient spirit. And remember that only you can master your own life. No one can live for you. No one can bear your pains or your happiness for you. Step forward firmly on your own 2 feet, so that one day, when you look back, you can smile and say, I lived fully with my own strength. Happiness, a 2-word phrase that seems simple, yet people spend their entire lives endlessly searching for it. Some people think that happiness is having a lot of money, fame, and power. Others believe that happiness only comes when they achieve what they desire, buy their dream house, marry the person they love, or succeed in their career. But even when they have all these things in their hands, many still feel empty, tired, and restless inside. What they call happiness turns out to be just a fleeting cloud that comes and goes, impossible to hold on to. This makes us wonder, where does true happiness really lie? The answer, according to the Buddha's teachings, is within the inner self. Happiness does not lie outside, but originates from a content heart, a peaceful soul. The Buddha once taught that contentment is the greatest wealth. One who is content finds peace even eating a simple meal of rice and vegetables. One who is not content, even with mountains of gold, still feels deprived and incomplete. In life, we often chase after money and power, wanting to possess more in the hope of being happy. But it is like someone walking in the desert drinking seawater. The more they drink, the thirstier they become. The more they have, the more they feel they lack. External ambition is a bottomless pit, while inner happiness is the true, cool spring. Try to imagine, in the morning when you wake up, you step onto the porch, take a deep breath of fresh air. You hear birds singing on a branch, see the gentle sunlight falling on the tiled roof. In that moment, without money, without fame, you still feel a joy spreading through your chest. That is joy from within, independent of material possessions or circumstances. If you can feel life flowing, then you hold in your hands a kind of happiness that many search for their entire lives without finding. Mr. Loy's story is a simple yet profound example. His whole life he worked as a civil servant, busy with ledgers, meetings, and performance pressure. Sometimes he thought that if he could just get a higher position, earn more money, he would be happy. But the higher he climbed, the more tired he became, the more he felt life was bland. When he retired, he returned to his small house with a garden in the back. Every day, he woke up early, tended to his vegetable patch, watered a few coffee plants, pulled weeds, fed his chickens, and then sat down to drink a hot cup of tea. He smiled and told his neighbor that he had never felt as happy as he did now. Before, he might sit in an air-conditioned office, signing important documents, but his mind was burning like fire. Now, he only had hands covered in mud, listening to the crowing of chickens, but his heart was as serene as a still river. The lesson from that story is very clear. Happiness is not about luxurious things, but about an inner self that knows contentment, a peaceful heart. When we stop comparing ourselves to others, stop wishing for things beyond our reach, we will see that we already have so much. It's like someone sitting by a fire on a winter night. Just by turning towards the flame, they feel warm. But if they turn their back, even though the flame is still there, they still feel cold. Happiness is the same. It is always present. But sometimes we turn our backs to chase distant illusions, so we don't see it. The Buddha's teachings also emphasize everything in life is impermanent. Money can be lost, fame can fade, loved ones can depart. This body will one day grow old and weak. If we place our happiness in these impermanent things, we will surely suffer. Only happiness from within, from acceptance, from a contented soul, is truly everlasting. When we can look at a bowl of plain rice and be grateful for having food, look at a simple roof and feel lucky to have shelter. When we hear children's laughter and feel warmth in our hearts, that is true happiness. A small practice you can try right now is to sit still for a few minutes, close your eyes, relax your whole body, and then gently bring your mind to the simple things around you. You can think of the cool water you just drank, the breeze passing through your hair, or the sound of birds outside the window. Acknowledge that you are alive. You are breathing. And in this very moment, you lack nothing. This is a form of meditation on simple joy. When you cultivate this habit, you will gradually realize that happiness is not far away, but is always present in every breath, every moment. Some might say, if I don't have money, no fame, what will I live on? How can I be happy? It's true that money is needed for life, but it is not the source of happiness. You can have money to buy a big house, but can you buy the warmth of a family home? You can use money to buy medicine, but can you buy peace of mind? You can buy a soft mattress, but you cannot use money to buy truly restful sleep. Money is just a means, while happiness is always within you. So how do you cultivate happiness from within? First, practice gratitude. Be grateful for small things, from a drop of water, a grain of rice, to the love of a friend, a sincere inquiry. When gratitude arises, the mind naturally softens, becomes less greedy, less comparative. Second, practice letting go of comparisons. Don't look at those who are richer or more talented and then feel inferior and unhappy. Turn back to yourself and see that what you have is already enough to smile. Third, practice meditation. Spend a few minutes each day listening to your breath, returning to yourself. Meditation is not about being distant, but about being mindful in every action. When washing dishes, be aware that you are washing dishes. When eating rice, be aware that you are eating rice. And in that simplicity, happiness will blossom. One day, you will realize that happiness is not a destination at the end of the road, but the peaceful steps right within the journey. When you walk through a crowded market and still maintain a calm mind, when you sit in a small room and still feel your heart expansive, that is happiness. Happiness comes from peace, and peace can only be found within your own heart. So stop chasing external illusions. Turn inward to tend the garden of your soul, sowing seeds of gratitude, letting go, and mindfulness. Learn to smile at a sunny day, a rain shower, a simple meal. And remember that as long as you feel content, in this very moment, you are already happy. No one can bring you happiness because it is already within your heart. Just recognize it. Just turn back, and happiness will naturally bloom. Perhaps in life, all of us have things we cannot let go of. Sometimes it's a memento, sometimes a past relationship, sometimes just an unintentional word that hurt us. We hold it tightly in our hearts like a scar. The more we hold, the more it hurts. The more we think, the more we suffer. People often say that holding on to something too tightly will hurt oneself. And that is the truth. All worries and suffering in life originate from clinging. We cling to an object, a person, an idea, and then let it bind our souls. But the Buddha taught that all phenomena are impermanent. Everything arises and ceases. Everything changes. Nothing belongs to us forever. If we don't learn to let go, we will forever live in the cycle of suffering. Imagine a hand tightly grasping a red-hot coal. The person keeps holding it and refuses to let go, thinking it belongs to them, that it is precious. But that very hand will be burned. That very person will be harmed. Just let go. The coal drops, and the hand is liberated. Similarly, when we let go of binding things, our hearts naturally feel lighter. Letting go is not discarding, nor is it denying, but understanding that everything is impermanent. Nothing can be held forever. When we realize this, the mind is naturally freed. Thu's story is a very relatable example. When she was young, she loved someone deeply. They had promised to spend their entire lives together. But then, destiny intervened, and they broke up. She kept a commemorative ring, looking at it every day, shedding tears every day. For many years, she dared not start a new relationship, because every time she saw the ring, a flood of memories rushed back. The ring itself did nothing, but her clinging to it trapped her mind. One day, during a Dharma talk, she heard the saying, "No one can walk a new path while clinging to an old shadow." So she decided to put the ring away in a corner, no longer taking it out to gaze at it. Strangely, from then on, her heart felt lighter. She could smile when thinking about the past and open her heart to embrace the present. The ring was still there, but the suffering was gone. What changed was not the ring, but her mind. The Buddha once taught about the 4 important marks of Dharma: impermanence, no self, suffering, and emptiness. If we understand these 4 things, we will find letting go less difficult. Impermanence means everything changes. Nothing lasts forever. No self means there is no fixed, permanent self. Everything arises from a combination of causes and conditions. Suffering means that when we cling, we generate suffering. And emptiness means that all phenomena are inherently empty. Nothing truly belongs to us. When we understand that the ring is just an impermanent object, and the old love was just a segment of life's journey, we will find no reason to hold on to suffering. Some ask, but how can I let go when memories still linger, when the wound is still there? Letting go is not about forgetting everything, but about accepting the truth and not letting it control you. Memories can still be there, but we look at them with calm eyes, like looking at an old painting. The wound may still leave a scar, but we no longer agonize over it, no longer reopen it to cause ourselves pain. Letting go is learning to live with the past, but not letting it imprison the present. Try a small exercise. When you feel stuck on a thought, a memory, a sorrow, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and imagine you are holding a pebble in your hand. Clench your hand tightly. You will feel your hand ache. Then, slowly let go. Open your hand and let the pebble fall. That feeling of lightness is the lesson of letting go. You can do this exercise with your breath. Breathe in, recognizing that you are clinging. Breathe out, letting that thought float away. Each time you practice, you will find your mind clearer, lighter. In daily life, letting go can start with very small things. When someone says something that upsets you, instead of dwelling on it all day, try to smile and think that words are like a passing breeze. When a cherished item is lost, instead of suffering, remember that all things are impermanent. When a relationship is no longer what it once was, instead of blaming, be grateful for what has passed and accept the change. Letting go does not make us lose. Rather, letting go brings freedom. Some still mistakenly believe that letting go is indifference or heartlessness. In fact, letting go is loving in a more complete way. When we let go of clinging to a person, we can truly love them without binding or imposing. When we let go of clinging to an object, we can truly enjoy its value in the present without fear of losing it. Letting go is the path to serenity, because the mind is no longer chained to anything. So ask yourself, what is weighing down your heart today? It could be a past love, a betraying friend, a broken memento, or an unfulfilled dream. Try to practice letting go. You don't need to discard it. Just set it down so your mind can be at ease. Just as a boat cannot continue if it carries too many stones, your soul cannot fly high if it is weighed down with worries. Letting go is the door to freedom. When you learn to let go, you will see worries naturally dissipate. When you know how to let go, you truly grasp peace. And when you let go, you will realize an important truth. Life has never been heavy. We just put the burdens on our own shoulders. Just put them down, and you will find your steps lighter, your soul expansive. And this life, it turns out, is truly beautiful. Perhaps in life, the thing that causes humans the most suffering is the habit of demanding, always wanting everything to happen exactly according to their wishes, their plans, their cherished expectations. But this life, inherently, has nothing certain, nothing permanent. All things change according to causes and conditions. People come and go. Things gather and disperse. Money is sometimes abundant, sometimes scarce. Health is sometimes robust, sometimes weak. If we keep trying to hold on, keep insisting that things must be this way or that way, then worries will surely come, because reality is always far different from expectation. Therefore, living tui duen, adapting to conditions, does not mean resigning oneself or giving up, but living with understanding and acceptance, knowing that what comes, we receive. What goes, we let go. Keeping the heart peaceful amidst all ups and downs and changes. Some ask if living tui duen is like that. Isn't it passive? Isn't it lazy, just surrendering to fate? But tui duen does not equate to indifference. It is the active living wholeheartedly in every moment, fulfilling one's duties and responsibilities, and then letting go of the results, not demanding what is beyond reach. For example, a diligent farmer cultivates, sows seeds, waters, weeds, but cannot control the rain or sun. Therefore, if the harvest is good, they rejoice. If the harvest is poor, they accept it, without complaining to heaven and earth. A person who knows how to live tui duen is one who deeply understands the Buddha's teachings on impermanence and cause and condition, knowing that everything in life comes about through many conditions, combining. And when the conditions are sufficient, it blooms. When the conditions end, it withers. The Buddha once taught that life is an impermanent flow, like flying clouds, flowing water, blooming flowers, then fading. Nothing stays with us forever. Nothing is lasting or immutable. Therefore, if we know how to follow that flow, not forcing, not clinging, then peace will naturally arise within our hearts. The image of clouds floating in the sky is very beautiful, but clouds do not stay in one place forever. When the wind blows, clouds gather. When the wind changes direction, clouds dissipate. Flowers bloom brightly, but then they wither to make way for new shoots. If we only want clouds to stay in one shape, flowers to stay in one color, and fragrance, we will suffer when they change. But if we understand that impermanence, we will know how to appreciate when clouds gather, when flowers bloom, and be at peace when they depart. I remember the story of Uncle Tu, a street vendor, whom many may have met somewhere. Uncle Tu was over 60, living simply by carrying his street stall, selling cakes and fruits in every alley. Some days he sold a lot. Some days he sold poorly, with few buyers. But the special thing was that he never complained, nor did he compare or calculate gains and losses. If anyone asked, he would just smile kindly and say, "If there's a connection, duen, I sell. If not, then it's like going for a walk. Meeting people and chatting is also fun." It was this mindset that made his face always radiant, making people feel at ease when they looked at him. Uncle Tu taught us a simple yet profound lesson. Living tui duen is not about abandoning everything, but about doing your best in your work, and then peacefully letting go, accepting success or failure. In Buddhism, living tui duen is a practice of wisdom. Wisdom to clearly see the impermanent nature of life. Wisdom to understand that we can only master our actions and our minds, but not external causes and conditions. Wisdom to know how to let go of unnecessary attachments. When we truly live Tui Duyin, worries in our hearts will naturally disappear, because we no longer tirelessly demand things that cannot be forced. It's like dropping a heavy object into water. If you cling to it, you will sink, but if you let go, you will float. Letting go is not about being passive, but about opening up a space to breathe freely, so the heart can be at peace. If you want to practice living in harmony with conditions, you can start with the smallest things in daily life. When you wake up in the morning, if it's sunny, smile and thank the sun. If it's raining, also smile and thank the rain, because rain and sun both have their own value. If you encounter traffic congestion, instead of getting annoyed, take a deep breath and think that you have a few extra minutes to listen to music, to chant the Buddha's name, or to observe your breath. When you meet someone who says unpleasant words, instead of harboring resentment, think that both favorable and unfavorable conditions help us cultivate patience. In this way, each day we practice adapting to conditions, without resisting, without forcing. Gradually, a state of stable peace will arise within us. You can try a short meditation exercise to feel the spirit of Tui Duyen. Sit still, close your eyes, breathe in deeply, and breathe out slowly. When you breathe in, silently think, I receive favorable conditions. When you breathe out, silently think, I let go of unfavorable conditions. Do this for a few minutes, and you will feel lighter at heart, as if cleansed of worries. Because happiness does not lie in everything happening exactly as we wish, but in our ability to accept and live in harmony with reality. Always remember that only you can be the master of your own life. No one can live for you, and no one can carry your worries for you. If you know how to live Tui Duin, know how to smile in the face of changes, then your life will become a peaceful journey, no matter how many ups and downs. Don't force, don't complain, don't cling to what is past, or worry about what has not yet come. Just live fully in the present, wholeheartedly, with every task you are doing, loving those around you. And as for the results, let them be. You will find your soul as expansive as the sky, as free as flying clouds, as clear as a flowing stream. So, practice living Tui Duin to find peace every day. Let things come and go as they naturally do. Don't struggle against the law of impermanence. When you let go and go with the flow, worries will naturally dissipate. Happiness will naturally come, and on that journey, you yourself will become your own best friend, abiding in stillness and peace that nothing can disturb. Perhaps, after all the explanations, everyday stories, and profound Buddhist teachings that we have contemplated together, the ultimate takeaway is still a very simple one. Just live well every day. People often have a habit of searching far and wide for a secret to living peacefully, a formula to escape suffering, a path to happiness. But the more they search, the more tired they become, the more worried they feel. In reality, that key has never been external. It has always been present in our own minds. As long as you know how to return to yourself, know how to live kindly, know how to let go of gossip, then your mind will be at peace. And once the mind is at peace, worries naturally vanish. The Buddha once taught that all phenomena arise from the mind. If our mind is pure, the world around us is also pure. If our mind is troubled, the world before us is also dark. Some people live in luxury with abundant wealth, but their minds are always restless, anxious, resentful, so they never find happiness. Conversely, some people live simply, with plain meals, but their minds are light, at peace, without resentment, without striving. So every day they live is peaceful. So it turns out that happiness or suffering is not determined by external factors, but lies entirely in how we nurture and preserve our minds. Try to recall the days when you constantly chased after the praise and blame of others. When people praised you, you were happy. When they criticized you, you were sad. Your mind was always swayed by public opinion. In the end, you were the one who got tired. But when you realize the truth that no one can live for you, no one can decide your happiness for you, then you will know that the most important thing to do is to return and care for your inner self. How short life is, yet we constantly waste it contending with public opinion, suffering over what others think of us. Only you can master your own life, and you truly live only when you dare to be yourself. Imagine our mind as a lake. If we keep throwing pebbles of gossip, envy, and competition into it, the lake will always be turbulent, never still. But if we let go of everything and allow the lake to settle naturally, the water will become crystal clear, reflecting the entire sky. Similarly, when we live kindly, let go of gossip, and do not cling to praise or blame, our minds will settle into clear stillness. And it is then that we can see the sky of peace that is already within us. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha taught that conquering 1,000 armies is not equal to conquering oneself. Conquering oneself is the greatest victory. Whatever fame, whatever wealth, whatever praise one may gain in life, if you do not know how to return to subdue your own mind, all these things are merely fleeting winds. Conversely, if you master your mind, maintain stillness, then no matter what the external world is like, you will remain serene and at peace. You can begin to return to yourself with very simple actions. Every morning when you wake up, instead of hastily opening your phone, sit still for a few minutes to breathe and smile. Remind yourself that today I will live well. I will live kindly. When eating a meal, put down all haste to appreciate each grain of rice, for it is the effort of many who cultivated and harvested it. When you encounter someone unpleasant, breathe and smile, reminding yourself that everyone carries their own suffering, and we don't need to add any more suffering. This is how you practice returning to yourself, to nurture peace in the present moment. Ask your heart, who am I living for? What am I chasing after? Ultimately, no one can live for you, nor can anyone bear your suffering for you. So the most important thing is to keep your mind at peace. A peaceful mind not only brings joy to ourselves, but also spreads peace to those around us. When we live kindly, our loved ones find refuge, our friends feel at ease, and society has one less conflict. One person living well each day may not change the whole world, but they will certainly change the small world around them. In today's bustling modern life, sometimes we forget to return to ourselves. We are busy with hundreds of messages, dozens of meetings, countless plans to complete, to the point that our minds are always as taut as a violin string. But try to look back. Does all of that ultimately bring lasting peace? If we don't know how to stop, don't know how to return to care for our minds, then that string will snap at any unexpected moment. So give yourself the opportunity to stop, to take a deep breath, to feel that you are still alive, that every present moment is precious. Finally, the message that the Buddhist Dharma channel wants to send you is actually very simple. Don't search for happiness far away. Don't wait for a day when everything is perfect to be happy. Happiness is knowing how to live well each day, knowing how to let go of meaningless things, knowing how to keep your mind at peace amidst life's changes. That is the shortest, easiest, yet most profound path to truly live. Engrave it in your heart like a gentle yet powerful meditation chant. Just live well every day. Let others do as they please. A peaceful mind, a liberated life. When you truly practice that saying, you will find worries gradually fading away. You will find your heart wide open. You will find each day a gift, whether it rains or shines, whether it's smooth or thorny. And above all, you will discover a miracle. You don't need to go anywhere far to find happiness, because happiness is already within you, already